Hello and welcome to another Cuppa with Kaci. And today is a special video because it is my celebratory I have 100 subscribers video. Yay. So I thought, considering it's such a special video, I will be doing the front page of my new sketchbook. And we can do that together and that'll be fun. And then at the end of the video I will be doing a competition for a giveaway, a free trading card commission about the size of you or an OC, done in Copics or watercolors by your choice, and it will be posted to you, and I will go over the details at the end of the video. So without any further ado, let's get to it. So before I start, I'm going to do some sketching of some ideas. That's what I'm going to do. This is obviously the back half of the previous videos page, which you can see the Copic markers did not go through the paper nearly as much as the cheaper markers. Don't know if that was something you were interested in knowing about them in the last video, so I thought I'd show you. The paper holds out better with Copics than it does with the cheaper markers. So we will be sketching. Bring in the llama cup. Llama! So for the first page of all my sketchbooks, I usually just draw myself as a sort of meet the artist kind of thing. So that's pretty much what I went for with this. I don't know why I always draw myself. I mean, it kind of makes sense, you know, you open up the art book, you see the artist on the first page, you're like, ooh, that's cool, and you keep going. So I think that's why I've sort of always done it. It's either me or my oldest OC, which is where the name Kaci came from. But I haven't drawn her in a long time, so it's usually myself. And I took the first page of my previous sketchbook as inspiration for this sketchbook. My previous one was of me pregnant, and so this one I decided to draw me with my baby girl Abby sitting on my hip, because I thought that was a really cute idea, so that when you open them out next to each other it sort of follows across. Though my art style's different and all that stuff, it still sort of works. So I don't know how well you can see the sketches here because of the bleed through of the markers on the other side of the page, but I did a few little sketch ideas and then I ended up settling on the one of me with Abigail on my hip, and I just decided to draw it up a bit bigger here to get the form solid in my mind before I flip back to the first page to draw it out for real, as I think you should always do if you are doing an image on a separate piece of paper and you've done some thumbnails. I think it's always a good idea to practice drawing it up bigger before you just jump right into it, because I don't know about you, but I find that it's quite difficult to take the small image and just blow it up like it's nothing. Sometimes I can do it, but usually I do a thumbnail and then I try and draw it big on the nice paper and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing because I never practiced the details in a bigger shape, bigger size. So that's what I'm doing here. I just didn't do the whole thing. Like, I didn't add clothes really, and I think I did actually add clothes now looking at it as I'm watching this back, but I didn't add the hair or anything. I just sort of did the shapes and the form so I could know the pose down pat before I wanted to draw it up big. And I tried, like, I'm really light-handed with my sketching, so I found a couple of times with these videos you can't actually see what I'm drawing because I sketch quite light, because I like to be able to erase it if I need to, and if I sketch too dark I find it very annoying when you can't erase, which, you know, most artists I think do, but for some reason I just can never see it on my videos when I'm sketching. So I tried to sketch a little darker than normal so you actually be able to see. And I've also gotten a new camera which I don't know if you can tell from the quality of the video, but I got myself a new camera recently, which is a much better camera than my old one. So I'm hoping that the lens picks up more of my artwork. Yeah, that's pretty much that. So I'm pretty much just going through and redrawing the whole thing, but with more details now. So adding the details is something I don't really do on the previous sketch or the thumbnail. So this is me adding the hair, adding the facial expressions, adding the clothes. And you know what? I haven't really drawn many babies before, so it was pretty difficult to make the baby actually look like my daughter, so don't take my terrible first attempt at a baby drawing to be how my daughter looks, please. It's not that bad. I mean, the drawing of me is not that great either. But that comes down to I hadn't drawn in a little while, and I was a little bit rusty. I mean, I haven't drawn myself in a little while. A little bit rusty with face shape and such, and for some reason I had a little bit of trouble making this look like me, so there's that too. But it's still me. It's got my glasses, it's got my scruffy hair, and I didn't do my usual red flanny white top for this picture because I wanted my outfit to look nice alongside Abigail's outfit, and Abigail, I drew her in my favourite set of pyjamas that she has, which is like a fluffy pink jumper with some flannelette pants, but the jumper's got a fox on the front and the pants have like little trees and foxes all over it. And red flanny wouldn't necessarily go very nicely alongside pink fluffy jumper, so I did myself in my pyjamas as well next to her, so we're both wearing our pyjamas, yay! And on to colouring, and you had to know I was going to do it with my Copics because I know them the best out of everything, and I know that this book is not the best with wet media, so I didn't want to paint onto this paper. And something I noticed whilst colouring, and that I always start with the skin tones, so that's what I'm doing here. I'm doing Abby's face and such, and something I noticed, which I noticed in the previous video, but it didn't actually occur to me to mention it. The paper for this art book is marker specific paper, apparently. So according to Ohuhu, this is a marker sketchbook, but you can also use pencils and other dry media in it as well. And I knew that, but it never actually occurred to me to test it in a way of using markers to their full ability. And whilst doing this piece, I actually found that I really do like this paper when using my Copics on it. They blend so nicely, and it's not something I had noticed in the first few pages of this because I hadn't done a full illustration, and the last video I was mostly focused on how the cheaper markers were versus the Copics, so I wasn't thinking of the blendability of the markers in the sense of how the paper was working. I was thinking of it in a versus Copics versus cheaper markers. But when I was doing this piece, I noticed that this paper is actually really, really nice for blending out Copics on. And in my previous sketchbook, the paper was, I suppose, multimedia paper. I don't actually know, because it was just it's just a sketchbook that I bought because I liked the cover more than actually knowing what the paper was inside it. But Copics worked nicely on it and they blended well, but in comparison to this was almost like painting with my markers because they blended so nicely on this paper. And I'm just gonna say I really like this sketchbook. And yeah, I'd heard sort of mixed reviews of this sketchbook from like Drawing with Waffles and a couple of other people who have tried this marker paper, and so I was sort of not expecting a whole lot, but also I wanted a square sketchbook that the pages sat flat, and I couldn't afford to get myself an Elo sketchbook because they are ridiculously expensive to get posted to Australia. I have looked into it. The postage costs more than the sketchbook itself, so I won't be getting an Elo sketchbook anytime soon, which is fine because this one is amazing, and I ordered it off of Amazon. It came from Ohuhu, Australia, so the postage was free, and I am very, very happy about that, and I will probably order another one for when this one runs out, but I don't foresee that happening anytime soon because it has like 1,000,000 pages. It's a very thick boy, which is also good if you don't have the funds to buy sketchbooks really often when the pages run out and you like working in a sketchbook. Then this one, definitely recommend, definitely. So yeah, there's that. Let's talk about the art again a little bit. I did all of Abigail first. I don't normally do that. I will normally do like the skin all at once and the hair all at once and stuff, but I wanted to do Abigail first because, I don't know, I was having so much fun doing the skin tone on her. I just kind of went with it and wanted to do the fuzzy jumper and see how that worked with the blending of the paper, and then I did the pants and I did her little socks and so on and so forth. And then I moved on to doing me, and I haven't drawn myself with my glasses on in a long time, especially not when using my Copics. So it didn't actually occur to me that I would have to colour inside the lenses separately than the rest of the face. But the paper made it so easy to blend out the colour that you can't even tell that I sort of coloured those bits separately because it blends out nicely to the bit outside the lenses so smoothly, even though they're not connected, and I'm so happy about that because that's one of the reasons I almost never draw myself with my glasses on, is because it's such a pain to make sure that the bit inside the lens blends smoothly to outside the lens without a harsh sort of, you can tell that I've coloured them separately. And the reason I couldn't just do it over the rim of the glasses, because the rim of my glasses is actually clear, so I need to, I don't need to. I could colour over and then use a separate colour to make the lenses look like it's just gone over the skin tone, but the colour of my glasses, it doesn't quite work because they're really pale, sort of, they're almost a skin tone in themselves, almost pale pink, almost skin tone. And I've tried colouring a separate skin tone over the top and it just looks like I have really funny tan lines, so I have to colour it separately with the skin tone in mind for underneath, as opposed to doing skin tone straight through and then colouring over with every colour. But hey ho, it's all things we learn, and I think figured it out. I think the paper definitely helped. I can't say enough for this paper. I really like this paper. And I think about just after I finished doing all the skin tone, my new camera decided that it was going to die. I mean, the battery didn't quite die, but I knew if I kept going, it was going to die. I guess I'm recording on a higher resolution with this new camera, so the battery just dies. And I did buy a spare battery with this new camera so that I could just replace the battery and keep going, but unfortunately I hadn't charged it yet, so we had that problem. But yeah, so I had to wait a little while in between doing the skin tone and the rest of the image before I could finish it, and it was so frustrating because I was on a roll and I really wanted to keep going, but I wanted to record it for you guys because this is a special video, and I had to wait. So I put the battery on charge and I waited a few hours for it to charge, and it was excruciating. But we got there in the end, and we came back and we got into doing the rest of the image, so the hair and the eyes and the clothes. And I think my least favourite part of this whole illustration is the hair, is my hair, because I had an image in my head of how I wanted it to look, and I tried to emulate that, but I don't have the skill level yet, I think, with colouring hair with Copics. It's something I really need to practice. because I wanted it to look, because my hair is quite curly, I wanted it to look like each curl was separate and the strands were separated, not one just big lump of colour, and it did not work, so I ended up sort of giving up with that halfway through and just sort of did some squiggles throughout it to give it some texture at least. And there's that. So hands up if you think I should do some hair practice. So definitely me. And if you have any Skillshare classes or even just online tutorials, videos, anything you think that will help me learn how to colour hair with Copics, do send them in the comments below or to the side, whatever you're watching this on, just so I can do some practice, because I am terrible at it, as you can now see. My hair was green. I dyed it dark green, but it's faded out to this teal colour, so I decided to colour it with the teal as opposed to the green, because it was green for about a week before I washed it, and then it went blue, which is a shame because I wanted green hair. But hey ho, it's blue. And so I actually have some really nice teal aquamarine colours, so I was excited to use those on this piece and make all the strands separate and do some epic shading, but it just didn't work. I don't know. I really need to work on it. Like, how this could have been. But oh well. I'm not sure if my issue is that I'm trying to colour the hair the same way I colour the skin, that I'm blending it out as I go, and I don't know if, do I need to leave it to dry so that there's that hard edge to make it look all separate? I don't know. I don't know what it is. I really need to work on it. And yeah, I keep flipping back and forth to see how the colour is going. Like, the paper is pretty good with the marker ink. I've only had it bleed through like the tiniest amount on one image, but I kept checking because I was doing so much layering on the hair and I wanted to make sure it wasn't bleeding onto the next page. I deliberately left the next page blank in case that happened, because I didn't want to do some really nice art on that page and then come back and do the front page and have it bleed through. So I think the next 2 pages even I left blank. Not that I expected it to bleed through 2 pages, but I was just, being cautious because I wasn't sure about the paper. Because like I said, I'd had mixed reviews, or seen mixed reviews anyway. And yeah, even with the eyes, I could not get my eye colour right. So I kept layering up different shades and I was making sure that that wasn't bleeding through. And actually, the paper held out pretty well. I think the only bit that bled through, the tiniest bit, was actually on Abigail's jumper. But you can't even really tell. It's like just a few speckles of pink that have gone through the page. So the next page will be drawable, and I don't know what I'm going to do on it, but it's there and I can use it without worrying about horrible marker splodges, which is great, because don't we just hate bleed through? Bleed through is the worst. And for some reason, this purple, like, it's not out of ink or anything, but this purple colour was so streaky when I was trying to do it. I think it's because it's such an awkward shape and I couldn't really do a smooth stroke, maybe? I mean, I've never had this issue with my Copics before, so I think that was what was the problem. I just couldn't get it to be smooth, and it was really bugging me because I didn't want it to be streaky. The rest of the image wasn't streaky, and this purple wanted to be streaky. So instead of trying to force it to be smooth, I just decided to go with it and make it look like the folds of the top, because it's supposed to be a pajama top. So it's like, oh, I can look really creased. That doesn't matter. So yeah, I used another shade of purple and went over and did some creases, and I used the original shade to blend it out, and it didn't look too bad in the end. It's still a little bit streaky, but better than it was. And this is where I had the real issue. My pajama pants at the time were pink and pale blue tie-dye style trackies. And I don't know how to colour tie-dye. It's a weird pattern, and yeah, so it's not like a swirl or anything. That would be easy to emulate. It's just like random patches of blue across the pale pink fabric, and I had the worst time trying to make it look like that instead of just I had blue splodges everywhere. But I just went with it. It was a bit messy, but there's only a tiny bit on the page, so I figured it didn't matter too much, at least. And this is where I brought in my Ohuhu fine liners to do the line art, because I thought I had such a nice coloured picture. I wanted to do coloured lines, and you know how I always forget to do it? I didn't forget to do it with this piece. Yay! I don't know if it's because the previous video I did coloured lines as well, but I was like, I'm going to use my Ohuhu markers because I'm using Ohuhu paper. It was great, and I did it, and yeah, I mean, I did it for the hair. That's pretty much all I did it for. Because I wanted to, I was trying again to make the hair look curly and messy, not just a big weird shaped splodge of colour. And so I added some flyaway strands and a thick outline around the edge. And then, yeah, I came back in with a couple different shades just to, that's my swatch sheet of my Ohuhu markers, by the way, to do like the eyes and the eyelashes, because Abby's hair in particular is quite pale, and I didn't want to use the same pink liner that I used for the rest of the image to do her hair, because her hair's quite fair, and I thought the bright pink would make it look off. So I think actually I pulled in my sepia tone Copic multi-liner, which is what you can see me using there. So it's my sepia multi-liner in a size 0.3. And I did the same for my hair, where it's the fairer brown. And then I get the pink multi-liner and did the rest of it in pink, because by this point I was not wanting to have to do every colour separately, I guess, is probably my excuse. And I think this is where I got really frustrated, because when I do line art, I usually hover directly over the page, so I get a good line, get my face as close to the paper as I possibly can so I can see everything and make sure the lines are smooth. And obviously I was trying to not do that, so I wasn't in the way of the camera, so the line art was a bit messy and it really frustrated me. And I rage quit for a little bit just to give myself a break, because by this point I'd been working on it for a couple hours and I was like, I'm ruining it and I hate it and I'm so annoyed right now. And I didn't want to just rush it to finish it and mess it up completely with the lines. So I went away and I came back a little while later and finished it off then, because I was so annoyed with how it was going. And I think that's a really important thing to remember with your artwork. If you've been working on something for a long time and you're starting to feel fatigued and you're messing it up for whatever reason, don't just rush it to finish it, because you're going to ruin it and you're going to be so annoyed with yourself. Just put your pencil down, put your pen down, step away and have a cup of tea or whatever, and then come back when you're a bit fresher and finish it. Even if it's a couple days later, it doesn't matter. Give yourself that break so you don't ruin something you've been working on for so long, because I can tell you it's the worst feeling to really mess up something that you've been working on for so long, and just because you saw yourself make a couple mistakes and just wanted to finish it as quick as possible. And I think that's all I really have to say about the piece itself. Let's get talking about the giveaway. So I made 100 subscribers on YouTube. Yay! So exciting! And so I'm doing a trading card commission giveaway. So how you can enter is comment below, like the video, subscribe to YouTube. And then what I want you to do is head on over to my Instagram, which will be linked below in the the description. head on over there, like my Instagram, and then I want you to post a picture of yourself or the OC you want drawn as the trading card with hashtag Kaci's contest. Really easy. I will put the information in the description, and I will pick a winner next week with a random generator somehow. I worked that out, and we will we'll have a winner, and then I will contact you on Instagram to make sure I have all the details correct of your image, your character, yourself, so I can draw up your trading card, and then I'll post it on out to you, and it's going to be fun. So please enter, like, subscribe, all those things, and we will have a winner next week. So with that covered, we'll just finish off the video with watching me finish the artwork. I used a white gel pen for some highlights. I did some touch-ups with the multi-liners, and then of course I had to write in "Welcome to my sketchbook." And I winged this. I don't think it turned out too bad, but my handwriting is not the prettiest, so I didn't mess it up, but it's not as neat as I would have liked. So I went over with my Copics and did some little bubbly effects just to, I don't know, make it look like it was supposed to be a bit messy. And I added some little love hearts because love hearts are cute and it looked nice in the pink. And then, of course, as is most important with the starting page of your sketchbook, I had to write the date I started it and the date I finished it. Well, I mean, obviously I haven't finished it yet, but I've given it space to write when I finished it. And that is super important, well, at least to me, so I can see how long it took me to finish the sketchbook. And I imagine this one's going to take me a while because it's so big, there's so many pages, and it's lovely. I'm not going to have to spend money on a new sketchbook for a long time. And that is the finished piece. So thank you so much for coming and watching my video. Thank you for subscribing if you have subscribed, and don't forget to enter the contest. I'm so excited for that. See you all next week. Bye!